Okay, everybody, it is Friday, time for Free Tip Friday. And you know what that means? It means we are doing part 2 with Emily. Here I am, and here you are. And it's great to see everybody today. We are going to jump in and get this peyote leaf finished. I'm really excited to see how Emily's going to share showing how she finishes this. It was great fun to all be together on Wednesday. And so today we're all going to be together and finish this sucker up. So, pardon me. Before we get started here, I just wanted to mention, of course, you can follow us as always on our social, on our Instagram at beadshop.com, at the bead table, our bead shop group, where we have a lot of fun over there talking about bead shop products and projects. And of course, you can subscribe right to our YouTube channel right on right there. You just give that little subscribe button and then you'll never miss a broadcast. And of course, you can find all of the information on the project and the products from today's broadcast on our website. Go ahead and sign up for our newsletter. You'll get the latest discounts and things about our giveaways and new products. It's really awesome. So on that note, I am going to get rid of that card. And I'm going to, Emily, I don't know if you're ready, but I'm adding you. All right, here we go. And we're ready, Em.
Hi, Kate.
How are you?
How the heck are you?
I'm all right. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Doing good. I'm stitching up my last row or two here to get ready to show you how to do this connection.
Oh, that's great. Well,
I was a poor student and didn't quite finish my homework. Don't tell
them. Well, we have a couple of people who are saying in the chat that they didn't finish their homework. So let's see.
Perfect.
No, but as you said earlier, homework's overrated, right? So don't worry about it, you guys.
If you did homework,
great. You could always rewatch this. Let me show you this. We have someone new watching today, Alice Harvey. Hi, Alice.
Hi, Alice.
Alice says, hello, everyone. This is my first live show. Getting back into beading after some years focusing on metalwork should be fun. Yes, Alice, metalwork is awesome, but mixing beads and metalwork is also awesome. So welcome. It's great to have you here. Brittany, of course, is watching. And look at our little Brittany. There she is. Good morning, friends. Good morning, Britt.
Hi, Britt.
You guys are going to love, Brittany and I were talking about it yesterday, and Brittany has made this wrap bracelet that is so ridiculous in the best way possible. I sent her some beads to work with, and she turned it into a masterpiece. So thank goodness. That's going to be in just a couple weeks, I think. So Britt, it's great to see you virtually. And thank you so much. That piece is really amazing. We're going to, let's see, who else have we got going on? Of course, we've got Geeta over commenting and moderating over on our Facebook feed. And we've got Janice, of course, moderating over on our YouTube channel.
I hope somebody is watching Facebook to hear about Kim and if her husband is a little, I forget where they live. They live in Southern California?
No, they live somewhere in the Midwest, I think.
Okay.
But one of our design team members, Kim Golias, Kim had a little hip accident and is today, I think, is getting a hip replacement. So we're thinking of you guys, you, Kim, and my birthday twin, your husband, Dave, today. So all good thoughts go out to you. So it's great. It's great to have all of you new viewers. I'm scrolling through to see Wendy. Wendy's new. Hey, Wendy, it's great to have you. But we love all of our, I shouldn't say old beaters because and new beaters, right? Because I'm one of the old. I'm an old beater.
Excuse me, I am not old, and I'm older than you. So you can take that and shut it.
So I could say, how about this? Our seasoned viewers and our new viewers. How's that? Is that better? So you guys, our Friday broadcasts, our Free Tip Fridays broadcasts. Oh, Kim's watching. So Kim, she said she's here for a minute until they take her away. So we're thinking of you. Have a really safe, you're going to be fine. You're super strong. You're super resilient, but we're totally thinking about you right now. So let us know how you come out on the other end, but we're all thinking of you today.
And then you'll
what's that, Em?
Partially bionic.
That's right. That's right. All the better.
Yep.
So I wanted to mention a couple of other things that we've got going on Monday. And, you know, Geeta is the one who keeps track of all of this. Without Geeta, I don't know what we'd do. A. B, she reminded me that Monday is the 4-year anniversary of these live broadcasts.
Holy Toledo.
Right? And so we're going to do something. I'm going to do something next week to celebrate. I don't know what. I'll figure that out. I'm not going to figure that out today. I'll figure that out later. But 4 years of live broadcasting, right? With our Bead Shop Lives on Wednesday and our Free Tip Fridays on Fridays. So that's
it's like a couple hundred broadcasts.
Yeah, I would have to. I'll get out the calculator.
50-ish a year. There's probably a week or two where it didn't happen. But
it's a lot.
More, 2 per week.
Yeah, 2.
400. Right.
That's a lot of broadcasts. But as you guys know, and as you can tell, our Friday broadcasts are, you know, a little more casual, right? They're not quite as polished. Today, it's always crazy on Friday.
I polished my necklace this morning, though, before we came on.
It looks, well, you look great. I threw some earrings on and jumped on. So happy almost 4 years to us. And again, thanks everybody so much for watching. We're usually a little more put together than I am this morning. But let me tell you, if you're watching this on the replay and this is your first time and all of this, and you're like, well, where's the instruction? Well, hold your horses, kids. You can always, on the bottom slider, slide it over, and then you can see where the instruction begins. Usually we have a little chit chat for about 10 minutes to welcome everybody on and have some, you know, conviviality here around our virtual bead table. Let me tilt my head this way too. There, in the center. There we are. Find our center. All right. So let's get this show on the road, Em.
Okay.
Right?
Speaking of homework, I know we were talking about beading homework, but I did a little homework today while I was out walking the dogs. Mm-hmm. Since we're talking about leaves and it is fall, it would be remiss of me not to have some fall leaves in here.
Right.
So you want to switch around, Kate?
I'm gonna put that over, and I'm gonna add your demo cam to the stream, and I'm gonna spotlight that right now, Emily.
I picked out some leaves while I was on my walks today with the dog.
Doesn't that look pretty, you guys? That looks so.
And these are all. I tried to get ones that were kind of representative of, you know, leaf shapes that we kind of think about: oak leaves, ivy, ginkgo, fig, eucalyptus. This is some kind of vine that grows on another tree that has kind of red trumpet-shaped flowers.
Oh, but they're beautiful.
Actually, kind of close to kind of what we've been doing today. Mm-hmm. And I think it's interesting to note when you're kind of copying something from nature, to look at it really carefully. And really, when you kind of glance at a leaf, you say, oh, yeah, it's perfectly symmetrical. And like this fig leaf, which is a nice big one to kind of look at, it's pretty symmetrical, but it's not 100% symmetrical. And it's obviously ate a little chunk out of it there. And I picked a small fig leaf because there are bigger ones with way more open lobe action. But again, all the leaves have a pretty strong center line, even this one. which I don't know where it came from, but I really liked the ribs on it. I thought they were pretty cool looking.
Yeah, that's cool. It's
Right?
very Halloweeny.
Strong center line with mirror images on either side with some variations. This one's got a little bit stronger rib right there, and this is a little bit weaker, and this line over here is a little softer. Even the oak leaves, which kind of at first glance that you look at them, you'd think, oh, it's really symmetrical. It's actually not that symmetrical. There are some differences between them.
Oak leaves are my very, very favorite.
Are they?
Yeah, I think it's because we had a giant oak tree growing up. I just love them so much.
Well, I'm excited about this tree, which I picked leaves off of.
Yeah, the ginkgo. Yeah.
Yellow. And the colors and leaves they're not really changing. It's the chlorophyll receding into the tree. And that's what the leaves are, all those colors anyway. And I don't know what this one is either, but it was a pretty color, very symmetrical. The veins are very even. The ivy is another one which you would have thought was kind of symmetrical, but it's really got a little bit of asymmetry to it. And one of my favorite leaves, Kate, I think maybe my most favorite, even
eucalyptus,
is eucalyptus.
Yeah, me too. I love a eucalyptus leaf
because I think they're just so pretty and so graceful.
Yeah.
These ones, the veins, the other veins don't show very well, but the stem vein kind of does. Right. And this one I think is a sycamore. This tree produces those little spiky balls, which also got me to thinking, gosh, we could take the netted beads and make really short fringes on all the little joints of the connections, and it would look like a sycamore ball.
Oh yeah, that would be cool.
Right?
Yeah, we had sycamore trees in our at my elementary school. Those were the leaves, the sycamore leaves. When I talked about it the other week, that we would iron in between wax paper.
Right.
Some of those sycamore leaves, for sure.
So it's kind of a fun little experiment.
Oh, and Julie's saying that those look like sweet gum leaves, is what they're saying. So I don't know.
These ones?
Yeah.
Do sweet gum get little?
Or maybe
everywhere?
the yellow one. I don't know. Everyone's shouting out sweet gum, so maybe it's that yellow one. I don't know.
I don't know. This one comes off a vine that grows up on an oak tree, and it has orange trumpet-shaped flowers, very large, about 4 inches long. And so it's sort of a parasite that grows up on the tree itself. But anyway, I thought it was kind of fun things to notice how the stems and veins go in the leaves, because we're making something similar here, and it's just a nice exercise to.
Yeah, they look really pretty together. All of those colors.
Yeah, those great color leaves are some of my favorites. There's a really cool pattern by Diane Fitzgerald, who's another really well-known seed bead person, who I once rode in an elevator with at Bead and Button, who did a very cool ginkgo leaf one in brick stitch, which I've never done it, but it's a really famous project. And if you're interested in doing more leaves, that would be. Yeah,
Diane Fitzgerald, she's awesome. She's certainly a force in the seed bead world.
Oh yeah, and she has been for quite some time,
So let's get that camera a little closer to what you've got going on, if that's cool, Em.
Let's see what I can do there.
Just push it on, or push it on down.
Oh, okay. Oh, it won't do it. I'm zooming off my camera, huh?
Yeah, there you go.
You know what? Actually, Kate, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to not do that. I'll show you why in just a moment. Give me a sec.
Okay.
Hold on. I thought.
We just want to get a little closer to the action.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. That was awful. I'm actually going to do one more little adjustment here. I kind of was playing with this earlier, and then I moved it because you said to move it, and it kind of threw it off.
Oh, great. Okay. Great.
So if I do this, the shadow drops away a little bit farther back in the back.
Okay, great.
This is a little contrasty, which is what I kind of don't like to see when I'm doing photo things. I don't like it to look so crisp in the lights and darks. I want it to be a little more bland, but it's going to work fine for our purposes.
Yeah, we can really see that well.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So I finished my last row, which is this row of, oh golly, and I'm going to say I forget the number right off fast as I can.
And just to mention, we did the part one of this
Right.
project. You can watch this on Wednesday's broadcast, and it's archived. The fastest and easiest place to watch it is right on our YouTube channel, and you'll see it. It's part one, diagonal peyote stitch with Emily.
And if I fold this in half, it is perfectly evenly symmetrical, which is, as we've just seen, very unlike a normal leaf. Most not so symmetrical. But one thing that I didn't really discuss about last time was that there actually is some sort of opportunities for other shaping here if you want to mess around with this. One thing I would always recommend that if you're planning on making a pair of earrings, it might be actually great to do the first half of both of the pieces, then go back and do the second half of both the pieces. The advantage to that is that you have things come out matching exactly from one of a pair of earrings to the other. If you want to have some little irregularities, I would plan for those irregularities and rather than let them happen simply. For this kind of piece where everything is very laid out, very rows and rows and predicted increases and decreases, I think it's nicest to have it kind of be a matching pair, not a sister pair, but a twins pair.
Right. Twins, not sisters.
Twins, not sisters.
Or twins and sisters or something. I don't know.
Well, identical twins. How's that?
There we go. Identical, not fraternal. There we go.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So I'm going to weave my thread right back through my work, and I'm going to come out at this upper size 2 millimeter true 2, and I'm going to join them up with a little loop of beads. That loop is going to be quite small, and it's going to pull that leaf together. If I make that loop a little longer, it would actually leave me room to run a vein down the center of this work and actually add some stem or small veins to the sides. And a stem, if you wanted to have a stem on this as well. Okay? I'm going to show you how to do that on the chart. But first, we're going to go ahead and join this one up as I have done for all of the other pairs that I've done for this project. So when you weave in, one of the things that this is going to do is it's going to reinforce and tighten the beads that are on the edge. That's really the most sort of fragile area that we might have.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to join these two edges up. When we finished over here, we wove that thread in, and now it's nice and secure and tight. So to be able to join to that, I want to have the same thing happen. Kind of like when we did the ring a couple weeks ago. We finished the first side and made that edge be very secure so that we could join the second side to it and not have it all pull itself apart.
And will you show kind of the finished piece?
Sure.
just to make sure that everyone can see kind of that's how that kind of natural curve is going to go when Emily joins it up.
Dimension. And kind of looks like a real leaf.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Right? And I think kind of elegant. So I'm going to take my needle and thread, and I'm going to weave up. And in this case, I'm not really weaving in to end this thread particularly, but I'm going to actually weave up as quickly as possible. I'm going to go through as many beads as I can at a time. And in this case, it's probably 2 or 3 at a time. But I am putting a second thread through each edge bead as I do this, right? So we have, with peyote stitch, in the beadwork portion of it, peyote stitch has 2 threads for every bead. That's assuming that each bead has another row connected to it. So if it didn't have another row, like these edges don't, it really only had 1 thread. When I first started bead weaving, I was concerned about how stable and how sturdy my beadwork was. And really, over the years, I had very little loss. There's very few times where things have failed on me. And I just tend to be kind of okay with adding an extra layer of thread. It's quite fine. Okay. Just kind of pull that up kind of snugly there. And now I'm going to pick up 4 of the true twos on my needle. And the true twos do vary a little bit in size. I know they say they're true two, truly two, but if we kind of isolate those 4 on the needle, I think you can see there's variations between them. And I'm going to take my needle and thread and go right over to the other side. So this is sort of like putting a loop on a brick stitch earring, right? Pull that right up. Now I chose 4 beads here for a reason. We could have done 3, could have done 2, could have done 5 or 7. But the nice thing in this case about having that even number is it's going to leave me the gap or the even opportunity to actually bring a stem, a row of beads down the middle. We started this peyote stitch with the center line, knowing that we worked one half, we flipped it over and worked the other half. So we do have a symmetrical center line to it. Keeping that number at an even number of beads means that I can go in between that pair of beads and put a center line of beads down the center, okay? If you're not worried about that and you would like to be a little bit more shaped in the center, you can back that down to 2 or 3 and be happy with that. Don't add a center line. So I'm going to bring my needle back through a couple beads, and then I'm going to turn myself around, and go back the other way. Again, this is adding that second layer of thread through the join, through those beads in the middle, those 2.
You make it look so effortless, Emily.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that, when I started you off on this project, I recommended to use about 1.5 yards of thread. Mm-hmm. And that's what I did with this one. So when I'm finishing this off right now, I've got maybe about 14 inches of thread, which is kind of like the Goldilocks moment of stitching. I can pull my thread through and I don't have to have my arm go way out beyond my body. And so it's very easy.
Right.
Right before you said that, I just noticed it was like, God, I have just the right amount of thread. I have plenty to work with, but not too much.
Right. It's just perfect.
It's just perfect. Just in that Goldilocks kind of zone, which doesn't happen all the time, I also sometimes talk about watching my mom hand sew things. And I remember as a kid watching her sew, and it looked like she was kind of whipping the needle through the thread, through the fabric, just buzzing right along, like hand stitching a hem. And when I got older and started doing it myself, I realized that it really wasn't that she was whipping it through so quickly. She just had an economy of motion, and she'd done it so many times that
it's muscle memory, right?
It was muscle memory.
Yeah.
So I've come through the 4 beads, second time, back into the beadwork. Now I remember that when I worked my way up from down below here, I worked my way up that last outer row. I worked on the edge. So that means those beads have plenty of thread in them. And I'm just going to work my way someplace else. And really the trick to weaving off a thread is to cross itself a couple of times. So think figure 8 in the beadwork. So if I'm coming along here, I'm going to go down a few beads, a few rows, cut over, and come back up, crossing itself. So if you can cross yourself a couple of times, you're golden. You don't have to worry about anything happening anymore.
Perfect.
And it was a hard one lesson to learn not to end your thread on the last bead of a row. And I'll tell you why. If you do that,
Tell us why.
If you do that, you will find yourself always with a tiny bit of thread poking out of your work. And it is the most maddening thing you have ever had happen to you in your life. That doesn't matter whether you cut it or burn it with a thread burner. That little pesky bit of thread will always be hanging out, and it's so stinking frustrating. Okay. All right. I'm going to just go a couple more little stitches here, and then I'm good.
It looks good, Em. Yeah. You're so Melanie is saying, she says, Emily, I have a really sneaky feeling you may have done the stitch just a couple of times before.
It's funny, Mel. I've done peyote a bunch, and I love peyote. I do. Actually, brick stitch is probably my big love. Although I really like right angle weave, and I like netting too. Anyway, um, some of the things that I do, no matter what the stitch is, I do it the same. So needling my thread, using that shorter piece of thread. Man, when I first started beading, I really thought if I didn't have to change my needle and thread every time, very often, it would be a really great thing, because it was hard. It was hard to change your needle and thread. And you know what? It's actually easier to change the needle and thread than untangle knots as you go along all the time. So it's one of those things where you can't tell someone that. They have to kind of learn it for themselves. But I feel very comfortable and calm at this point doing what I'm doing here, ending off my needle and thread, ending off my thread in my beadwork and finishing it off. And I feel very comfortable and confident with that. And I
Well,
think
at least somebody feels comfortable and confident. Good job, Em.
you don't? Oh, come on.
No, you make it so easy. So
Richburg.
you come
Shut
on.
it.
There's a question that Julie has here. Have
Sure.
you made a leaf with delicas?
I have not. You certainly could, if you feel that delicas are your jam. It's so, in my experience, what I have found is that delicas don't have quite as much flexibility because of their crisper edges. And if you give me a moment, I will hop up from the table and grab my sample bucket, and I'll pull out a piece of a peyote stitch that's with delicas, and I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to thread burn this little edge off, and you know what I love about a thread burner is that you really get so stinking close, and you can go right along the edge of the beadwork and just burn that little thread right off. And if you feel on the end of this side, there's a little bit of a hard spot, but pretty modest. How about if I leave you there for just a moment? I'll grab my sample bucket. I meant to bring it over here today and I forgot. Okay.
Okay, so those are looking really great, though, I think. With these, and if you watch Wednesday's show, right, you'll get the instruction for the first two. And also, don't forget about Emily's really great handout that she made for this piece. You can also download it on the project page for beadshop.com.
Okay. Here's my little sample jar, which contains failed or stopped projects for some reason. And now I just have to find something that's or peyote stitch with delicas. Let's see. It's an embarrassment of riches, I'm afraid to say. Lots of choices. So here's a little bit of peyote in delica beads, and it's sewn together, but we can kind of see that it's not as flexible in some ways. So peyote stitch really bends best on the horizontal axis. If we try and bend it on the vertical axis, it gets kind of stiff and chunky. Brick stitch does the opposite. Okay. Also be aware of working with matte beads. Matte beads, which I love, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with them, but they have some interesting attributes. This is one of herringbone done with beads, matte beads, and I don't know if you're able to hear this, Kate. It has sort of a scritchy quality.
Yeah, I mean because they're matte, they have a little bit of a tooth to the surface, sort of. If that's
that's exactly what I mean. And they don't. It kind of sets your teeth on edge a little bit when weaving with them. Not always, but sometimes, and at least it does for me.
I sure like that design with those daggers.
It's cute, huh? I don't know. Cool. It was sort of a design that I had in my head and didn't quite come to fruition. There are more failures of this somewhere that didn't quite make the cut. Yeah. Sometimes things work and sometimes things don't.
So
Okay.
with the embellishment on the leaves,
Yes.
what are we thinking there?
Let me get rid of this jar, get this out of the way. And I'm going to grab my chart. We're going to go back to page 4.
And Rachel is asking again about this. Does this work better with delicas or seed beads? You're using the Rocal, the round beads. And again, if
Yeah,
you go, Rachel, over to the
I'm gonna say that I kind of have a preference, I think, for round beads in this case.
mhm,
I think you could use delicas, and sort of see how it works up. I think the tension is going to be it's going to be a little bit stiffer. It's not going to be so
mhm,
fluid. Um, but it'll work fine. You can do
mhm.
Peyote stitch with anything,
Right, right.
that's
And
fine.
you could you size this up, and do this
Sure,
leaf in 8/aughts? You could,
sure,
right?
of course.
So if you're not maybe as, well versed in this stitch and you want a bead that's a little bit bigger, you could try it out with
I guess I I
8/aughts.
I have in my experience in teaching folks, my my thoughts about using a bigger bead for this is you may want to size up a little bit in thread. So the bigger the bead, the bigger the hole in the bead.
Mhm,
And when the bead sort of flip flops around on the thread, it can kind of give you some fits. I would really wax my thread well. You might want to move up to using the very finest of the Ceylons, which is micro. Is that right?
yeah, or you could use the Ceylon D, which is also
Ceylon,
a skinny thread, but
yeah,
you could use the micro Ceylon for sure
yeah,
if you're sizing up.
because that'll help hold um, it'll kind of help hold the beads on the thread a little bit. I
Mhm,
think one of the things that you notice with seed beading is that it's important that you be able to pass through the beads easily. And modern seed beads, so everything sort of from, I'm going to say, the 80s onwards, mostly made in Japan, have a much bigger hole than than beads that are made before that time, and the hole's more even. So check beads tend to have a smaller hole. The bead themselves looks more like a bagel, kind of rounded all around.
mhm,
Japanese beads, the delicate or the cylinder bead, is like you sliced a chunk from a pipe. So the hole
mhm,
is very large and the wall of the bead is quite thin. Their Japanese rocal or round beads, seed beads, also have that pipe shaped hole, but the outside is a little bit more bulbous, a little bit more plump. Uh,
mhm,
the check beads tend to have that smaller hole, although modern check beads, it's really not as true as if you bought something that was like made by Native Americans in the last that was maybe 50 years old or even a little older. I think you'd see some real differences in the shapes of the beads. And certainly buying vintage beads, if you encounter those in your travels,
mhm,
be prepared for the holes to be irregular and small,
mhm,
rather than what you have today. So as far as sizing up, you certainly can size this up. I don't necessarily think that sizing up necessarily makes it that much easier. I would invest more in better lighting and better magnification if that's the problem that you're having. I
mhm,
find that once the bead is on the thread and once it's stitched together, it really has very little opportunity to move anywhere. You don't really have to see where the hole is if you know it's there. It's not going to move. But if it's flip-flopping around on the thread a bit because the hole is big and the thread is small, then that to me adds a level of difficulty that you didn't necessarily need to have. But your mileage may vary. You're certainly welcome to try it. I just find that if things kind of hold together themselves by themselves, that's a little easier. Like your delicate eights, which I think are
right,
awesome beads.
mhm.
They're great for stringing. They're great for working with elastic. They're great for a bunch of stuff. But they have such a big hole. Even if you were to compare it to just a regular Japanese eight, I bet the hole is 50% larger.
Yeah, it's real big, and
It's
that's
really
why,
big.
yeah, sizing up with your threads is always a good one.
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
sure.
And I don't know, stitching this particular one with size 8 delicas, you've got a really big leaf, and it would be chunky.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it'll certainly work. What you're gonna replace the tutus with, you might be using like a 4 millimeter
Mm-hmm.
or a 3 millimeter, something bigger. Maybe a 6 might be a bit big, so something smaller than a 6. Okay, let's talk stem and vein. I'm gonna bring in this leaf.
And
Has
you could
big-
just call, I mean, this is kind of a little extra bonus
yeah,
on
yeah, yeah.
these, right? The other ones that you did, you just called those finished.
Yes, I did. That was for me. That was the look that I was after, and what we were talking about was learning diagonal peyote, and that was kind of the most important part for me.
Mm-hmm.
Once we get past this stage, then there's a bunch of other things you can do with it. So if you
Mm-hmm.
want to add the veins, um, we're going to add when we finish uh, our beading. We're going to add some beads up above here, and I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to start with 4. This is, of course, it's expanded. It's blown up and out. There's more space in between the beads than would normally be.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's just imagine that we went ahead and put. Let's say we put 6 on in the center. Okay, so 4 gives us this very cupped shape, but if we added 6 in the middle, it would give us a much more flat and more open shape in the middle. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
let's say we're going to do 6. Okay, so we've secured those loops of beads. And we're talking about putting in a stem. So we're going to bring our thread. Oh, I love a multicolor pen.
Mm-hmm. I have one sitting here too.
Good. Our thread is going to be coming through the beads, and I'm going to bring it out in the middle. So this again is expanded, bigger than it would be, would not have these gaps and openings with it. And I'm going to add a row of seed beads down the middle. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
I imagine that you're going to need approximately 8 to 10 for the center stem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I'm going to bring my needle and thread down into the beadwork. And I'm going to turn around. I don't know if I'm still on. I am. Excellent. Turn around and back up. Okay. And this path that you have, it's okay. It doesn't have to be crisscrossing or doing anything fancy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, gosh. That was a mistake. Sorry about that.
Oh.
I don't want to go through that. Stopper bead won't be existing. So my thread is actually going to go back in here. Okay. Stopper bead would have been long gone. So I'm going to bring my thread back out and up to my stem. And then I'm going to come up a couple of beads, and I'm going to come over here with maybe 2 beads. Let's call it 2. And I'm going to go right back in one of these tutus that's hanging out. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing. This is going to give you lots of practice weaving in thread. Okay. But remember now, this is not, I don't need to do a lot of weaving in. I'll go around and go like that and come back out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll add 2 and do the same thing on the other side. So we're going down, weaving in, coming back out, going back up the chain. Okay. Ooh, peace sign. Sorry.
Nice.
I think I would put in this opening, I think I would try for 3 stems, 3 veins.
Mm-hmm.
And each one would grow a little bit, probably on the order of a bead or so, to bridge that opening, that gap as I went across, right? So I'd have 1, 2, 3 coming off that center stem. Once I came back up my center stem, just for symmetry, because I am what I am, I would actually pop over to the other side and weave my thread in to end it off.
So essentially, you're just filling that. You're kind of like netting sort of into that
Yeah,
little space,
yeah. It's a
right?
very, very lightweight, uh, symmetrical, but
Mhm,
relaxed.
mhm.
Yes, absolutely.
And so I've got a couple of comments here that I wanna share while you're doing that, and then we can,
Sure.
um, so, wondering what could be used in the place of the 2 millimeters.
Oh, okay.
You can use really anything
Oh,
that,
yeah.
right? So
A size 8 would be
that's a
fine.
question that Sandra had.
Size 8 in that place position would be great. Smallest of the shadows, yes. If
Mhm,
you're adding shadows and putting it in this position, I would be tempted to change threads. And
mhm. Maybe
most,
the fire line?
yeah, and use Fireline. Most of
Mhm,
the seed beads that I work with are glass, and as such, they tend to have a fairly soft edge where the thread would be running over the opening of the hole of the bead. Let me see if I can make that sound less
mhm.
weird by putting a couple beads on a thread here. So this edge here, where the hole is made, is fairly soft. Okay. And so wherever the thread has to be pulled over that hole and rub against it,
Mhm, that'll
I'm
kind of
not
protect it.
right. I'm not too worried about that with most seed beading weight threads. Most of the time, we're going to go through the beads more than once, sometimes 3 or 4 times. With right angle weave, we go through beads 3 or 4 times or more.
Mhm,
When it comes to shadows, though, I would make the change over to Fireline. Metal beads can have rough edges. There's no real guarantee that they are as smoothed out and refined as these are. And I would be very aware, and I would consider that for using Swarovski crystal too. If you were going to use crystal in this position,
mhm.
in the position that we're using the True Twos, then I would definitely use Fireline for this example. It's just much, much stronger and much more durable to wear and tear for sure.
And then I've got one more quick
Sure.
question for you, Em. It seems like everybody has given this design so much thought. There's so many great
Oh,
questions.
good.
Curtis is asking if you used, and we touched on this real quick. If you used 8-aught beads, would you then use 6-aught instead of the True Twos?
I think so, Curtis. Um, is there a 3 millimeter fire polish?
Yeah, we do. We could do the 3 millimeter fire
I
polish
think
too.
I would first. I think I might try the 3 millimeter fire polish first. You don't
Uh-huh.
actually have to use a bigger bead here. You could actually
Hmm.
use eights for the whole thing,
Right.
and just pick a new color or
Right. That
add it,
has a kind of a contrast
an
to.
accent. I chose
Mhm.
the True Twos because I loved that they have a little bit of faceting
Mhm.
and a little bit of
A bit
sparkle,
of
and they were a
sparkle.
really nice size here. They were big enough
Yeah.
to kind of stand out, but they weren't really something that was really changing the dynamic of the shape of this edge. I thought it just gave me a little bit of sparkle along here.
And then Janice is also asking, do you ever try your thread doubled? And you don't, right? Because maybe on some of those bigger ones, but you need enough room to be able to weave back through, right?
Hold on a second. I'm going to get another jar of samples.
Okay, another jar. Here comes another jar, ladies and gentlemen. One more jar. This is so
Long, long
informative.
time ago,
I
the
love
guy
it when we have Emily kind of at our
disposal.
disposal here to be able to learn all of this stuff.
It's nice to actually have a little minute to talk, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Let me just clear a little bit
Help
away
this
here.
out.
I got another jar of beads. And what thing I want is at the bottom.
Of course it is.
Of course it is.
Oh, look, there's a little bag.
Yeah.
Look at all those things.
Yep. Long, long time ago when I was just getting started on this crazy game. I also liked to use eights. And this
Mm-hmm.
is throwback piece. This is called an amulet bag. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of them, but they were super popular in
Yeah,
the
1996 called. They want their amulet bag back.
in the early 90s,
That's
early to
right.
mid 90s, and there were thousands of designs. There were people who made their living
Yeah.
creating designs for amulet bags. This is a 2-drop amulet bag. It's peyote stitch. It's actually stitched in the round, right? And then at one point, I stopped stitching in the round and created a flap. These are white heart beads. So the core of them is white. They're check glass, very irregular, and they sometimes even have little sharp points on them. But this one is stitched with double nylon thread, and
Mm.
puppy is stiff like you would not believe.
Oh, yeah.
So, Janice, early on, I was concerned about the stability of my pieces. And, we didn't have the internet, and so there was no one to ask, sort of in the same way you might throw out a question these days and get a quick response. And so I just went for it because I thought, well, if you sew on a button on a shirt, you want to double up the thread because it's stronger. And so I just doubled my thread as a matter of course. And this led to me splitting my thread with my needle, right? Your needle goes through the hole of the bead and it catches the thread. And then you can't really tension things. You can't really pull them up snugly. And it also led me to have things that had no flexibility. I mean, all my beadwork stood up by itself. Didn't need any filler or stuffing to keep it solid. Sometimes that's a bonus. Sometimes that's something that you want. But most of the time, I think it's the opposite. We really would prefer to have things be more flexible and not have that stiffness to it. I looked at amulet bags when I saw them in magazines, and I thought, wow, they're really beautiful and they're super refined. And I probably made 10 or 20 of them right away. I thought that was just the
Yeah,
thing.
well, they were fun to make,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've got there's another one in here. And it's also peyote stitch, but stitched flat. This is much more flexible, right? Fun fringe on it. I can't remember the name of the teacher that taught this, but it was a fun one. We did it with some ribbon, and
Wow, that's great.
we're able to add a ton of fringe. Gosh, I can see her face. Meinhold. What's her last name?
Oh, Nancy Meinhold.
No, not Meinhold. Sorry.
Hmm.
Oh, she was blonde. She was from Fresno or from that area. That neck of the
I
woods
don't
out.
remember, but it's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a really great idea, right?
Yeah.
Lots of
So
fun to
I
play with.
have a couple of other. So do we need to revisit? We've just got a little bit of time left, Em.
Sure.
Do we need to revisit the leaves at all?
I don't know. Do we? Anybody?
I mean, the veins. The veins.
The veins?
Pretty clear, I think, huh?
I think so.
I'm just going back through and just double checking here to see if there's any other.
See, Kate, here's the other iterations of those. Those came out kind of cute. Those were kind of cute.
Yeah, that the herringbone.
Yeah.
Geeta is saying she wants a free tip Friday dedicated to all of your jar samples.
I only have a few.
That's funny. So what Janice just clarified, and she said, if you go to larger beads with bigger holes, would you use your KO double, or would you?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite finish that thought.
Size up to a larger thread.
Doubled thread, and you can, but the problem with it is it's so easy to split your thread and then your thread get tangled and not be able to undo something that I don't really recommend doubled thread anymore. I might use double thread occasionally when it's going to be really hard to go through those beads again. Like the loop.
Put that leaf one in the center too, Em.
Sorry.
There we go.
So we can think about it.
Yeah.
Yep. Something to dream on. Oh, and ear wires. Simply open the loop on the ear wire and slip it over the bead loop, and then you're done. I forgot to say that.
You're good to go.
You could also slide these on a hoop earring. Would be kind of pretty.
Mhm.
You
And
know.
there were a couple of other thoughts about that. Let's see. I'm scrolling back here.
Like,
Mel said this would make a great Christmas ornament if you made 5 and joined them in the middle.
oh,
Right? It would be kind of like a star or something ish, right?
this way,
Yeah, maybe something like that.
definitely. Sort of poinsettia-y.
Right? Yeah, that would be cool.
That's
And
definitely.
then
I don't know if you did them
someone,
in Christmassy colors. Might be kind of fun to put them on make a little mini garland
yeah, that
that you
would be
hang on a
cool.
tree. That might be kind of
And
cute.
and someone else was saying, I'm scrolling back through here. I'm sorry, it's
Okay.
not
Well, see,
showing
I'd
up.
like it like this. I think if I was going to hang it for an
Yeah,
ornament,
you could
I would-
cascade it. Wouldn't that be
yeah,
pretty? Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And you could
Red
do it on
balloon.
chain or whatever,
Mhm,
right? Must be good. Yeah,
mhm.
that'd be cool. Well, great. Well, I think
Are we done? Darn it!
I I think we might have to be. I'm going to
I've not yet
actually
done it.
unsolo you and put you and I on here together.
Okay.
There's a lot of votes for that ribbon bag, so I'll let you kind of
Mm.
move your camera out,
Michelle
and I will.
Meinhold. Michelle Meinhold is the name of that person.
Oh, okay. I don't remember. I'm
You don't
putting
remember
the
her?
two of us. We're on screen here.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, Michelle Meinhold. She taught a bunch at the bead store where I was working at Baubles and
Hmm.
Beads, and she did some really cute projects. That's one of her
Oh,
designs.
I think I remember that name from back in the day, but that's really cute.
She did some really cool beaded dolls and beaded mermaids.
Yeah, I remember beaded dolls. I remember
Yeah,
those things. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I hope that everybody had a lot of fun seeing this kind
Yeah.
of finished product here.
I
It
feel
was
like we raced to the end here. It was so quick.
yeah, we raced to the end. But remember, you guys, you can go right to Bead Shop and print out Emily's really wonderful directions. It's great. And then you have a couple of other things in the hopper. We'll be seeing you soon.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Speaking of a little bit of beads and fiber,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I have
Yeah.
something I'm working on, which you guys are gonna like, I think, a lot.
I think you are going to really like. We're going to be doing some bead embroidery with Emily, so you guys are going to get your bead embroidery experience. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I
And
think it would be really fun to do a free tip Friday. I'll talk with you about it.
okay,
We can schedule it, and you can just go through your jars, and we'll just watch you talk about. You'll just talk for an hour about your jars.
well, the jars are the things that I wouldn't say didn't. I don't want to say that they're failures. They're things that just have kind of flowed through, and not they didn't make it as a class, or they didn't make it as a project, or there were things I was working on and thinking about, and
Yeah.
it seemed
Well,
like a nice way to kind of. I mean, isn't that pretty to look at on your shelf?
yeah, and it's great to kind of go through and just see your ideas and your thought process. I think that's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. Well, and I've got. I
You
think
got a million.
I got a lot more.
That's awesome.
Sorry.
Well, and you and I will be chatting soon.
Cool.
There's a lot of love, a lot of thanks. People are like, bead embroidery. Stephanie she says 3 yeses. Yes, yes, yes. Bead embroidery, 3 exclamation marks. So
You guys are gonna love bead embroidery. It is
yeah,
it is really fun, and it can be a lot or it can be a little, and you can kind of pick
yeah,
how you choose to do it. I have some wonderful thoughts about that, which of course I'll take off my glasses.
glasses and
Here's what
so
that means.
Emily is saying that's going to be another 2-parter. You're going
Yeah,
to be back on Wednesday, November 11th, and Friday, November 13th.
yeah,
So
coming right up, man, alive.
that's great. So put it on your calendars, everybody. Or I will go ahead and Emily, I'm going to keep you up for just a second,
Okay.
but I will say here, you guys, remember, you can find all of the information on the product and the projects from today's broadcast on the website. But sign up for that newsletter, because then you'll get the info about when our special guests come on, like Emily and Brittany. And so sign up for that newsletter for the latest discounts, giveaways, and new products. And we've got a lot of new stuff coming up. And I also wanted to mention, I'll put this up. We've got coming up on November 6th, 7th, and 8th, the Great Bead Extravaganza is happening live on Facebook. It's a different Facebook group. It's not ours, but I'm going to be a participant right smack dab in the middle of this event on November 7th. I'll be going on at noon Pacific time.
That looks like so much fun. I can't wait to watch it.
So, all of our old friends are going to be there, right? Cynthia's doing a segment, Cynthia Thornton from Green Girl Studios. She and her daughter Azalea are doing a segment. Our buddy Andrew Thornton, her brother, is going to do a segment. Tammy Hahnemann, Jill McKay, Sarah Ayler from Softflex. There's so many. I think the ladies from Vintage are going to be there. I mean, it's too many to mention. So if you go on to the Facebook group, you guys, it's 3 solid days. I think Candy Cooper, I think Neely Patel. I think I'm sandwiched in between those guys. I don't know. It's a Neely Patel sandwich, something like that. It's going to be so much fun. So go over and join that Facebook group called The Great Bead Extravaganza, and you'll get all of the info. You can download the PDF. The PDF of all of the schedules and everything over there, and we'll be linking to it. So, so yes, Monday, happy anniversary to us. Geeta just linked it in the Facebook chat. The first broadcast from 10/26/16. So that was a lot of fun. We had a great time on that. And so, what we're going to do. So Diana's asking. The project will be posted. Usually it's that Tuesday, right before the Wednesday broadcast. So, so we'll see. And Emily, do you have a handout for that we're doing? Yeah. So we'll be sure to post that handout into the group as well.
And although bead embroidery is not something where you have to follow exactly a pattern, and you can incorporate. Kate's got some. Can I say what you have that you're sort of stockpiling? You told me.
Sure.
Embellishment sequins that you're kind of.
I do. That I want to do the Kate bead embroidery.
You have a cool bead that you kind of really love, and you kind of been stockpiling. Yeah. You're not sure where it's going to land.
Yeah.
Bead embroidery is a great place for it, and it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to play around with. And if you have youngsters in your life that you want to spend some time with, and you want to kind of sit down and have some needlework time. Bead embroidery also, it's much more sparkly than regular embroidery, so it moves along a little bit faster, and you can really pick a small project. I'll show you one that I purchased from a long time ago, and it would be a fun one to recreate. But it's a really nice kind of project to work on for sure.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I can't wait to see all of your take on it. So, but I think that for our Friday, I guess that is it, everybody. We did it. So a big thanks, of course, to Janice and to Geeta for throwing all of those links into the broadcast. And you guys,
thanks, guys, we couldn't do it without you.
No, we couldn't do it without you. So if you're watching this on replay, please remember you can just jump right over to Bead Shop and find all of the stuff over there. And I will see you next Wednesday. Not you, Em. I'll probably talk to you on the phone, though.
I'll probably see you. I might be there.
Yeah, you never know. But next Wednesday for some more fun here on Bead Shop Live. So thanks, everybody. Bye, Em. Bye, all of you all. Have a fantastic weekend. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Wear your masks. Keep that social distancing. We're getting through this. Talk to you guys soon.
And vote.
Thanks, everybody. And vote.